Hello and welcome to Zelda Theory. Breath of the Wild has been an entry in the Zelda series that completely changed the course of the franchise forever. Now, whether or not this is a good change is 100% subjective to the individual fan, of course. Breath of the Wild allows you as the player to explore literally in any way you want to from the opening cinematics of the game, and if you've been playing Zelda for a long period of time, you know that this mechanic was a breath of fresh air. Yes, the pun was intended. Now, what makes Breath of the Wild one of the greatest entries in the Zelda series is the Easter eggs and secrets that were put into the game that reference certain people or certain quotes that are in the other Zelda games. In this week's video, I'd like to talk about 5 secrets and Easter eggs in Breath of the Wild that you might have missed while playing the game. Let's jump into it. So the chances are extremely high that on your first playthrough of Breath of the Wild, the excitement was uncontrollable, and you just rushed off into the vast open world that is Hyrule and started to explore. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, of course, but did you take the time to notice the epic cutscene before that? You know, where the camera pans out and allows the player to see just how vast and massive the Breath of the Wild map is? This cutscene is extremely similar to the artwork that was created for the original Legend of Zelda. To the hill Link is standing on, to the massive mountain in the distance, quote-unquote Death Mountain. There are many different references here that state that Breath of the Wild was meant to be a massive reset for how the series has been as of late, by referring to the one Zelda game that started it all. I think that this Easter egg is really cool because it just shows the Zelda community just how far the series has come since the original release all the way back in 1986. I don't even think I was a thought at this point, but hey, it is what it is. Now, hands down, one of the funniest actors ever in Hollywood, Robin Williams, made his love for the Zelda series known a lot during his lifetime. I mean, he literally named his own daughter Zelda. Now, if that's not showcasing your love for a video game series, then I honestly don't know what is. We all know by now the tragic story of how Robin Williams passed, but after his passing, a lot of the fans in the community started a petition to get Robin in one of the games in some way. Nintendo heard the pleas of the masses and acknowledged them, but not in a way you might think. Anyway, jumping ahead to the release of Breath of the Wild in 2017, fans debated for weeks about whether or not certain NPCs would be worthy of Williams' in-game lookalike. The final verdict was none other than the legendary NPC called Robbie. Robbie's NPC fit Robin's physical features so well, it's actually kind of spooky in a way. It's so cool how Nintendo made Robbie funny and kind of out there mentally, just like Robin was in real life. Robbie's NPC is actually extremely useful as well because he allows Link to trade in ancient tech materials that he finds throughout his adventure to create some of the most powerful weapons in the game. Anyone who has fully played Breath of the Wild understands that these weapons make the game that much easier and allow the player to infiltrate Hyrule Castle and destroy Ganon with relative ease. An all-around comedic helper that watches over you through the course of the game basically becomes your guardian, and all the while ensuring that Zelda returns home safely. I think it's safe to assume that Robbie's NPC in Breath of the Wild is a perfect fit for the love that Robin Williams had for the Zelda franchise. Rest in peace, my fellow Zelda fan. Now, I'd be willing to say the first time you've seen one of these lovely mythical creatures floating around in the sky, your reaction was along the lines of, what is that? Is that an enemy or? The massive floating dragon in these specific areas in Breath of the Wild are in fact reincarnations of the 3 goddesses of Hyrule. Breath of the Wild's take on the legendary golden goddesses was truly amazing. Breath of the Wild references this by having the dragons play a more side quest role than actually being relevant to the overall story of Breath of the Wild. The original names of the goddesses were Din, Nehru, and Feror. However, in Breath of the Wild, their dragon names were Dinral, Naydra, and Farosh. Again, you can find these dragons at certain times and locations during your adventure, and you can utilize the updrafts, which are created by their massive bodies, to take off with the handy-dandy paraglider and fight these beasts in the sky for some insane ultra-rare monster parts that can be used to create high-level attack and defense boost for Link. I've seen insanely helpful guides on YouTube where players are farming this and getting loads of stat boost, and if you are playing on Master Mode in Breath of the Wild, you're definitely going to need all the help you can get. Now, are you looking to deal way more damage with any of Link's weapons? Definitely cook up 4 Mighty Bananas along with a Dragon Horn. Trust me, you'll thank me later. I love this approach to bringing the goddesses back into the series, even if it was sort of on the side of the overall story, because the story in general for me personally was a bit lacking in Breath of the Wild. So having these Easter eggs and references throughout the side quests were super cool to find. For this next Easter egg, let's head back to Korok Woods, and once you arrive, you'll come across a spot bathed in sunlight. This is also where you pull the Master Sword out of the pedestal. Of course, make sure you have the required 13 hearts before you decide to do that. Anyway, once you get there, look around the surrounding area around the Master Sword and the pedestal to find an arrangement of flowers. These flowers refer to the exact same layout that was used in A Link to the Past. Do you notice it? The pair of flowers on the left and the single flower on the right of the pedestal? I seriously cannot think of another developer that is this devoted to their games. What an amazing Easter egg. So there's a lot of massive fans in the series that literally took the time to translate a lot of the Sheikah language, but in this final Easter egg, I'd like to talk very briefly on the limited edition box of Breath of the Wild that was released around the same time as the game. Now if you take a closer look around the outer casing of the box itself, there will be a small trim of symbols that are able to be translated. Now if you take the time to brush up on your Sheikah language skills, these symbols translate to the Hyrule Fantasy, which was the original name for The Legend of Zelda from over 30 years ago. Now if you needed any more proof that Breath of the Wild was meant to be a massive reboot for The Legend of Zelda series, then this should have put the icing on the cake. So there you have it, 5 Easter eggs in Breath of the Wild that you may have missed. You may have already known some of these, or maybe you didn't. Either way, I hope you found value here today. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new, and click on the playlist coming up on the screen now to see more Zelda content. I'm Derek with Zelda Theory. Continue to be the light in someone's life, and remember, it's dangerous to go alone. Talk to you soon.